You're watching Caley Chat, produced by Elliot Busby. Andy Ferguson. Colin Stone. Joanna Seawick. Olivia Hammond. Amy Irons. And your hosts, Sahil Jacob and Lindsay Collins. It's Caley Chat at 4 o'clock.
Good afternoon and welcome to Caley Chat with me, Lindsay Collins.
And me, Sahil Jedka.
We have loads coming up for you in today's show, but first let's go to Joanna Seawick, who has this morning's headlines.
Thanks, Sahil. A sample of DNA found on the grip plate of a gun has turned out to be a perfect match to the man accused of shooting gangland figure Kevin Gerbil Carroll. Ross Mullen has been accused of murdering Carroll by repeatedly shooting him in an Asta car park in Rob Royston, Glasgow on January the 13th, 2010. Forensic scientist Pauline McSorley said she took swabs from the handgun discovered near the crime scene and found the major source of the DNA matched that of Monaghan. The First Minister has been accused of suppressing news that the major engineering firm had abandoned its plans to develop wind turbines in Scotland. Korean company Doosan blamed deteriorating confidence in the market for its decision. The project would have created hundreds of jobs in Scotland's offshore wind sector. Doctors in Edinburgh are offering people a recording of what may be the worst time of their life, the appointment at which they are diagnosed with cancer. The idea is part of the trial to help patients understand the information they are given at their consultation. The first recordings are being offered to patients attending prostate cancer clinics throughout the city. These are for the patients alone and no copy will be kept by the NHS. A chief constable has apologised to a former detective 14 years after she was wrongly accused of leaving a fingerprint at a murder scene. Stephen House, chief constable of Strathclyde Police, has put forward the gesture to former colleague Charlie McKee. She tried for perjury after insisting a fingerprint found in the home of murder victim Marion Ross in 1997 did not belong to her. 5 men are being held in connection with football-related disorder following last month's Rangers vs Celtic game. Grampian police have arrested the men in connection with the incident. It followed reports of trouble at the licensed premises in Peterhead after the game on the 25th of March. The men are expected to appear at Peterhead Sheriff Court later. Those are your news. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Joanna. As you have just heard, the council elections are upon us. To help you make your decision, we are now joined in the studio by our political correspondent, David Meeko. So, David, what are the parties offering the voters?
Yes, Alan, it's that time of the year again when the political parties are all desperate to gain our votes, no more so than here in Glasgow, where an all-out fight is out for control of the council, which has been ruled by Labour for over 40 years. For Labour, who remember struggled to pass a budget and lost their overall majority, their main pledges are to provide apprenticeships for the 16 to 24-year-olds, create 1,000 new jobs in the city, build 3,500 new homes and create a city-wide free Wi-Fi network and to regulate the buses. The SNP, who see Glasgow as the last jewel to take in Scotland, are pledging a manifesto that is fairly similar in parts to that of Labour. They also pledge to build 3,500 homes, give over £5.3 million to help youth unemployment and ensure minimum pricing for alcohol is implemented.
So what will that mean for Scottish politics in general?
Well, whatever happens in May the 3rd will be key to see the state of Scottish politics. If Labour do well, then it will be a sign voters are returning after last year. The SNP will hope to take seat after seat after seat, and I would think that some councils will be ruled by SNP majorities. But after the dust settles in these elections, Sahil, the battle won't be over. The independence referendum will begin in earnest. Scotland will not have seen anything like this.
Thanks very much, David. We now pass to Amy Irons, who has your roundup of this week's news.
Thanks, Sahil. Well, one of the week's biggest stories has been the sentencing of David Gilroy. Gilroy was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of his former lover, Suzanne Pilley, whose body has never been found. Lord Brackadale urged Gilroy to tell the family where her body is in the UK's first televised sentencing.
I hope that a day will come in your life when you feel able to disclose that information, and that might bring some comfort to her bereft family.
The Commission on Women's Offenders has called for Scotland's only female prison to be shut down. The commission, set up by the government, found that Cortonvale and Stirling was overpopulated and suggested radical reform. The report was presented by Chair Dame Ailish Angelini at Strathclyde University. A wedding dress which is being used to raise awareness of forced marriage in Scotland stopped off at Cardonald College on Monday. The dress, which incorporates messages from those affected, has been touring Scotland for 6 weeks. Health Secretary Nicola Sturgeon was there to promote the initiative.
It's really important to use the college environment to get this message across, and that's why this is such an important campaign. Having legislation is vital, but making sure people know about the legislation, what it does and how to use it is absolutely essential, and I really welcome the campaign that we've seen at the college.
And finally, the official tartan for Glasgow's Commonwealth Games was unveiled at a ceremony on Tuesday. Former Scotland strongman Gregor Edmonds modelled the tartan during a ceremony at Shawlands Academy. 15-year-old pupil Amir Mahmood's design was chosen out of 4,000 entries. And that's been this week's biggest stories. Back to the studio.
Thanks for that, Amy. With exams looming for many students across the country, stress levels are sure to be high. We now go to Andrew Ferguson, who will give those of you at home some tips for exam success.
The months of April and May are crucial for students at both university and at school. With future career aspirations and places in further education in the balance, the exam period is a stressful time for everyone involved. I spoke to students studying at Glasgow Caledonian University to find out how they prepare for their exams.
Just basically try and go over everything, revise as much as I can.
I read through everything at once and then go through past papers and try and just like get it in my head as much as possible.
Just read out notes, maybe try a few essay type questions.
I also visited Jordan Hill School, where I spoke to teacher Liz Gould.
The most important thing is to be prepared. That is the secret. Don't wait till the last minute. Do regular revision notes following, or summary notes following each topic. Also, into your exam timetable, build in some rest, exercise and some recreation. You need to strike a balance, and to de-stress, make sure there's some exercise in there.
Here at Caley Chat, we have come up with a list of tips and examples of what not to do when you are sitting an exam. Make sure that you arrive for your exam in plenty of time, as late entry may result in a disqualification or failure. Always make sure that you have a pen, as invigilators do not sympathise with those who have forgotten one. And always ensure that your mobile phone is switched off. Hopefully these handy tips will help you get top grades in all of your exams, and remember, preparation is always the key. Back to the studio.